So, we are in the concluding chapter of Bhagavad Gita and also the concluding verses. Yeah? And what we are seeing is the context is Arjuna, whose intellect is covered by moha. And Arjuna represents each one of us, the whole humanity or Jivatma. Yeah? Who is struggling? The struggling Jivatma. And hence, Arjuna becomes a mumukshu and wants to be released from samsara. And we have seen how Krishna has explained in all the 17 chapters that there are two kinds of nishtha, two lifestyles, two routes to moksha. What are they? So Shankaracharya says one of them is called Pravritti Lakshana Margaha, Sanskrit, which just means Karma Yoga. And the other marga is Nivritti Lakshana Margaha, Jnana Yoga. We all know this, no? Pravritti is pursuit, activity. Nivritti is withdrawal, yeah, absence of activity. So these are the two routes or the two lifestyles available for all of us. Yeah. Is there a choice? Not really. If we all assess ourselves, we will be able to find out which route is applicable to me in which stage of life. Yeah? So all this Krishna has explained. Pravritti Margaha or Karma Yoga is an Ishvara-centered life in which all the karmas become liberating actions, but just by a switch of attitude. Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Prasada. Yeah? So each jiva or being in the universe being endowed with a unique svabhava, guna composition, is to perform a unique role in the cosmic yajna of life. Yeah? You see how the sun is rising and setting every day? The moon is doing its job, earth is spinning at an amazing speed. So they are following their swadharmas. Yeah? So what about the human jiva? That is a question. Yeah? So by performing his or her own swadharma, yeah, how dynamically worshipping Ishvara as an offering. I do what is to be done, what is expected of me. This is the first marga suitable for the majority. And for most of us, this would have happened or is happening in the initial stage of life. Very natural. With responsibilities, duties, and family life, actively engaged in society, Pravritti Lakshana Margaha is the obvious choice. Yeah? But then the same person becomes now a Karma Yogi and he attains Chitta Shuddhi, purity of mind, by offering all those actions to Ishvara. Purity of mind means what? Freedom from Raga Dvesha. The mind is calm and is not coming under the pressure of Raga Dvesha. I don't do a thing because I like to do it. And I don't avoid something to be done because I hate it. Yeah? So these strong words, I adore, I hate, does not exist in the vocabulary of a Karma Yoga. Yeah? So as a result, the mind becomes very samam, very calm, and now the mind is eligible for the next stage, which is Jnana Yoga. Yeah? And Jnana Marga is the more challenging of the two, because it is an exclusive commitment to knowledge, and hence Krishna says, better take the Karma Yoga route, which is easier and safer. So in the Jnana Yoga Marga, as we have seen, Viveka, Vairagya, Shakta Sampati, Mumukshutvam, all those have to be in place. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, and in the Jnana Marga also. So Krishna has given Arjuna the big picture. And then what has he said? He says, Vimrishya. Now reflect, Arjuna, carefully. Where do you stand? What is it to be done? What is the world expecting you to do? Do you think you're a jnani? Or do you think you're more suitable for this karma yoga? You think over. Then yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. Yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. Yeah, then you decide and you act. I am not going to tell you what to do. Yeah, so all this we have seen. So it is a very important thing we see that, the Gita's main emphasis is on Swadharma. Why? Because there is a threefold benefit. If each one of us is doing our own Swadharma, there is cosmic harmony. Yeah. Then, if each one of us is doing what is expected of oneself, there is a social growth. Because we are contributing to the society through that activity. And last and most important is the Chitta Shuddhi. There is personal spiritual growth. Yeah? So threefold benefits are there. Yeah? So after having said Yatha Ichhasi Tatha Kuru, then Krishna immediately makes an about turn and again returns and says, Arjuna, Bhuyaha Shrinu. Yeah, you please listen again. I'm going to tell you something for your hitam, for your welfare. Yeah? So we thought the Upadeshas ended, but then Krishna opens it again because Ishtaha Asi Me. Yeah? You are so dear to me, and hence Aham Bhakshyami Te Hitam. I'm going to tell you what is good for you. Yeah? So in the Kathopanishad, the Nachiketa's dialogue with the Lord Yama very beautifully is described that in life there are always, we'll be standing at a fork. There will be something that is good for us and something that is pleasant. Shreyas versus preyas. So what are we going to choose? Do we want short-term gain and take the pleasant path, or long-term gain, Shreyo Margaha, which will ultimately take me towards freedom and peace? Yeah? So Yama is explaining the young Nachiketa the two-fold paths which is open to everyone at every stage of life. Like even to our children, we can tell, junk food is Shreyo Marga, but organic, nutritious food is Shreyo Marga. Yeah? Junk food will be tasty and pleasant for the moment, but later on stomach ache. Then Shreyo Marga is the nourishment will go to the mind and to the buddhi and all those benefits we have seen earlier in the earlier chapters of Gita. Yeah. So in this shloka number 64, Bhagavan says, Shrinu me paramam vachika. Again. And then we saw the next two shlokas, which are really the finally concluding shlokas of Bhagavan. Yeah. 65, shloka number 65 is the essence of the first marga, Pravritti Lakshana Marga, Karma Yoga. And 66 is the essence of the Jnana Yoga Marga or Nivritti Lakshana Marga. And both of them are so important that today we will see these shlokas again. Yeah? So, shloka number 65 is Manmana Bhava Madbhaktaha Manmana Bhava Madbhaktaha Madhyaji Man Namaskuru Madhyaji Man Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Satyante Mame Vaishyasi Satyante Pratijane Priyosi Me. So as we saw, this shloka is a repetition. The first line is repeated in the chapter 9, the last shloka number 34, also the same line appears. So what is Krishna telling here? He is saying, Arjuna, Bhava, you become Manmanaha, Madbhaktaha, Madhyaji, Man Namaskuru. Yeah. So this is, you become one who is a Manmanaha. So Manmanaha means whose manas is with me. Krishna is talking. Yeah, mat. Mat means me. So manmanaha is fix your mind on me. Think of me all the time. That means what? Ishvarize your whole life. Divinize your whole life. And we are all so fortunate to be born in this great culture, which is showing this only from our childhood onwards. Yeah. In the Hindu tradition, we are encouraged to see the Gopuram. So Gopuram Darshanam means what? At once the mind will look up. Up means what? Highest, supreme. Yeah? Then in the morning also, we are encouraged to do Gayatri Japam. So you worship the sun. Sun is also up, remote, but highest. So Manmanaha Bhava is fix your mind on whatever you think is supreme. That is why we chant the Pratha Smarana Shloka in the early morning to become a Manmanaha, to reflect or fix the mind on the supreme reality. So this is the first important word. Arjuna, you become a Manmanaha. So in Arjuna's case, what will it be? He should think of Krishna and then do what is to be done. Fight the war. That's why they say in English, no, give the mind to God and the hands to work. So we do this at home also, no? When we are doing some mundane tasks like BJP, Bartan, Jadu, Pocha. So then we are doing often Japam, no? We are doing Japam or, Dakshinamurti Stotram. Then we can chant it during our walks or cooking. Cooking, definitely we should chant something very auspicious. Yeah? So Manmanaha is fix the mind on me. Then Mad Bhaktaha. Mad Bhaktaha means Arjuna, you become my Bhaktaha. Yeah. Now, what does this mean? This means you worship the Supreme not with a wish list. Yeah? We have seen the stages of bhakti. Yeah? In the initial stages of bhakti, what will happen? There will be some distress or something we want to accomplish, and we seek the grace of Bhagavan. Yeah? If I break so many coconuts, if I do this archana, if I do this pilgrimage, if I do this tulabharam, then you must give this. This is also very beautiful. We have all done this. No problem. But here Krishna says, with more maturity, one should come to the Jnana Bhakti. Yeah, Jnana Bhakti where one wants Bhagavan only, not what Bhagavan can give me. So that is the ultimate stage of Bhakti, which is unconditional. Yeah? So I want Bhagavan. And so what does this mean in the context of Vedanta? Which means that recognizing Bhagavan as this indwelling reality in me. And this indwelling Sakshi Chaitanyam is Bhagavan. So Atma Darshanam. So that is the highest level of bhakti, also called Arupa Atma Darshanam. So these are the levels of bhakti. Then Madhyaji. A Yaji is the one who does yagas. So Madhyaji means you dedicate all your actions and your rituals and your karmas to me. And that's why, most people will say, Krishna Arpanamastu, even after a talk or after whatever activity is done. Krishna Arpanamastu, Brahma Arpanamastu. Yeah? That is the Madhyaji, and Madhyaji is nothing but Karma Yoga. Then Maan Namaskuru, and you bow down to me. Yeah? Namaskuru, Nam Dhatu verb in Sanskrit means to bend. Yeah? So when we do a Namaskara, it can be a Dandavat Namaskara, Sashtanga Namaskara, then what is going to happen? There will be an inner change. Yeah? So Namaskarams are there for getting over the Deha Abhimana, the ego, to dilute the ego. That is the purpose of doing a namaskara, abhimana. So here are these words: Manmanaha bhava, madbhaktaha, madhyaji, man namastu. Now, many commentators, besides Shankaracharya, have commented on the Gita. Many of them. So one commentator says, how beautifully this Manmanaha bhava is referring to Dhyana Yoga, meditation. Madbhaktaha bhava is referring to Bhakti Yoga. And Madhyaji is referring to Karma Yoga. So you see, all the yogas, finally they culminate in this understanding, which we can say is Paramam Jnanam or Parama Bhakti. Same thing. Yeah? At the absolute level, there is no difference. No? Knowledge of Supreme or devotion to Supreme is the same. So this is the shloka about all these yogas, how they come together. But mainly 65th shloka is showing us how in our busy lives we can bring in the devotion to the Supreme, whether it is a professional activity, housework, parenting, role playing, anything, shopping, mundane tasks also. That is why even bathing, when we bathe, there is a stotram for that also. There is a suktam. Aghamarshana suktam is there. So we divinize the water and then we imagine that we are giving abhishekam to the Lord residing in the body temple. Then after that, we are doing alankaram, wearing nice fresh clothes, putting flowers in the hair, tilakam on the forehead. Everything is a adornment and appreciation of the Ishvara residing in the hearts of all. That shloka, we have seen before. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati ramayan sarvabhutanam yantrarudhani mayaya. So that is the worship of Ishvara has to be kept up throughout the day. The summer camp, how we did all the daily shlokas, how we punctuate every moment of the day with some shloka, some mantra, some divine thought the whole day, and that is the gist of the shlokas. Then what will happen? Mam eva eshyasi. Eshyasi is a rit lakara, future tense. Mam, you will come to me, you will gain me. And satyam te pratijane. Satyam te pratijane means I assure you, Arjuna, this is my guarantee that if you do this, then you will come to me. Now, Krishna is not spatially located somewhere. So, how will we reach Krishna? Again, we take the Vedantic meaning here, which is understanding and recognizing that Ishvara resides in the hearts of all equally. And I discover the Paramatattvam in me and in the whole of creation. So the Upanishads is more direct. They say Tattvamasi, but here it is Mam eva eshyasi. You will reach me. So what this also means is that the first marga, Karma Yoga, will gradually, the mind will become pure, and in a pure mind, one can feel the guidance from the Lord very, very clearly. Okay, what should I do next in life? Which turn to take, which is to be dropped. Things will just drop off by themselves also for such a mumukshu. So then that is the transformation here. The purpose of life becomes clear, the way becomes clear. Rajagopalacharya, the great C. Rajagopalacharya, he said the whole Gita is about, or the Vedas, is about two things: the way of life and the vision. Vision is Atma Jnanam, but how should I live my life to gain that Atma Jnanam? It's told in this verse. So one must allot time for everything. Dhyana Yoga, Japam, Puja, Shlokas, Namaskaras, Karma Yoga, Then Mameva Eshasi Satyam Te Pratijani. And why does Krishna tell all this again and again to Arjuna? Priyaha Asi Me. Because Arjuna, you're so priyam to me. You are dear to me. One doubt may come here. That Krishna says, come to me, you bow down to me, you offer to me. So is Krishna some kind of jealous God? That he says, no, don't go to Shiva, don't go to Devi, don't go to other religions. No. Yeah? So, even the word Krishna has several meanings. In Sanskritam, this is the beauty of Sanskritam. One word can have 100 meanings. Yeah? So, the word Krishna, Akaranta Strilinga Shabda becomes who? Draupadi. Draupadi would be called as Krishna, long A. Then Krishna is also an adjective which means dark. Yeah? The dark Krishna. Yeah? And then Krishna comes from the root Kru. Kru means to pull, to attract. Yeah? So, and Krishna of course is Vasudeva. But here in this shloka, which meaning shall we take? We will take the meaning of Kru, attracts. What is attracting everybody the most? Atma. That is the center and core of our beings. That is exerting a centripetal force. Yeah, constantly it is, Atma has that attracting power. And that is the Karshati, Krishna. Krishna meaning that we will take here. So that is what is meant here. And it does not refer to all these gods and goddesses. As we have seen earlier, everyone is free to worship any god or any goddess. We can worship Gomata in Kali Yuga, only Arunachala or Gangama, or Krishna, Murugan, Devi, all gods. The choice is yours. Yeah? But then this shows us that ultimately this is the Arupa Darshana. The very Saguna worship will bring us to the Atma Darshana. So this is that important shloka number 65, part of which is a repetition from chapter 9, 34th shloka, and this is the essence of Karma Yoga. Yeah? And Karma Yoga cannot be bypassed because it gives us the siddhi of Chitta Shuddhi, and only Chitta Shuddhi will give me what? Adhikaritvam, eligibility for Jnana Yoga. Only then I will be able to sit in a Gita class. So I want to be able to perfect the Pravritti Lakshana Marga by becoming a perfect Karma Yoga. There are so many benefits of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga will be free from samsara, free from doubt. Yeah, and there will be no anxiety. Lives in the moment, present, and will excel in everything, and will be free from detachment. Because the result is not in my hands. Yeah? We have seen all this in chapter 2. Now let us go to the next shloka, which is the shloka of Bhagavad Gita. As we saw, very important shloka, Charama shloka and Antima Upadesha shloka of Krishna Paramatma, and which is shloka number 66. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tva sarvapapebhyah aham tva sarvapapebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchah mokshayishyami ma shuchah. This shloka is the essence of the Jnana Marga. Yeah? But the shloka is also confusing and it can be misinterpreted also. That is why it is advised that Shastras like Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, one should never study on one's own, because many words are there which have to be interpreted in the context. What is the context of the shloka? And then there are many meanings like Sarva Dharman, yeah, all dharmas, yeah. But what is dharma? You will find at least 10 meanings of dharma. Dharma means ethics, duty, religion. Dharma means the nature, like the dharma of water is to flow. Dharma of fire is heat. Dharma means my religion, Sanatana Dharma. Dharma means Swadharma, my duty. Dharma means ethics, harmony. Which meaning will we take? So, and hence, we have to listen to an Acharya who will probably refer to the commentators also, Shankara Bhashya. Now, for this shloka, Shankara Bhashyam is going into pages and pages and pages. So many pages, yeah. Because, in those times, Shankara's times, there was a lot of discussion. They had a lot of leisure time to have debates, debates on the Tattvam. Yeah? Is karma important? How important it is? What is the role of Jnanam? Are they in conflict with each other, or can we reconcile the two? They would have these amazing debates. Yeah? So let us revisit the shloka and with a little bit of Shankara Bhashyam also. The first quarter is Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Even without knowing Sanskritam, we can understand this. This means giving up all the dharmas. Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Having done tyaga of all the dharmas. Now, when we read this itself, it appears contradictory. Up to now, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you have to do Swadharma, perform your Swadharma, you get up and fight. Yeah? Then now, how Krishna can just say, abandon all the dharmas? So obviously, we cannot take the literal meaning of this. Sarva Dharman Parityajya. And hence, we need to take help from Bhashyas, like Shankara Bhashya. Now, Shankara Bhashya says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya does not mean literally giving up the dharmas. Should I give up my parenting dharma? Should I give up my dharma as a student? Should I give up the dharma as a citizen? Obviously not. That doesn't make sense at all. So, Shankaracharya says the word dharma is the key word here. So, dharma will include adharma also, first of all. So, sarva dharman means sarva dharman and sarva adharman parityajya. So, what it finally means is, we should take the meaning of sarva karmas, giving up all the karmas, punya karma and papa karma. Yeah? Now, another doubt. You see, we are not in the beginning of Gita. So we are studying the most profound shloka in the concluding chapter. So it is going to be a little bit not so easy. So Sarva Dharman Parityajya is giving up all the karmas. Now, can the karmas be given up? The obvious answer is no. And there is a shloka earlier which Krishna has said, Nahi kaschit jatu tishtati akarmakrit. Krishna is telling Arjuna, nobody in the three worlds can remain without doing karma. The earth is doing its karma, spinning around its axis, and around the sun. Sun is doing its karma, rising and setting. Or because of the earth, it appears like that. Yeah? So we see that karmas cannot be dropped. We cannot do tyaga of karmas. Everybody has to do swadharma, which we have just seen in the previous shlokas. So what does Krishna mean by saying abandon or give up all the karmas. There is only one explanation here, which is jnanena. Giving up karmas is to be taken figuratively by knowledge. Yeah? And the earlier chapter, most of you have not done the chapter. Chapter 5 is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga chapter. There Bhagavan says that one does not literally give up karmas, but one has to give up what? The notion that I am doing, which is kartritva tyaga, not karma tyaga, but kartritva tyaga. Like, for example, now, we are all breathing. Thank God. We're all breathing. We're all listening. And I'm talking mostly. And digestion is going on. Yeah, the body is also maybe moving a little bit. We are all seeing the shloka on the screen. We are all understanding with the buddhi. So many actions are happening. How can we stop all these actions? We cannot. So Sarva Dharman Parityajya means understanding that I am not doing all these actions. All these actions are happening by the grace of Ishvara. And that is the meaning of Sarva Dharman or Sarva Karman Parityajya. Yeah? So there is only one way of understanding this, which is by the knowledge of Atma. So when I discover the Atma, which is the Sakshi Chaitanyam in me, that is actionless. Atma is Akarta, Abhokta, Ajaha, unborn, actionless Atma. Sakshi Chaitanyam. So as Atma, I don't perform any action. Then how are the actions happening? They're all happening where? Anatma. Now these two words should be familiar to you from Tattva Bodha, right? So all the actions are happening in Anatma component. The body moves, ears listen, eyes perceive, tongue tastes, the buddhi decides, mind is experiencing emotions, heart beating, and the kidneys are expelling. So many actions are happening. All actions happen where? Anatma. Yeah? And how do they happen? Because they are powered by Atma. So Atma is the power switch which is activating the Anatma components. Yeah? So actions are happening and they will continue to happen, but the understanding is they are happening by the grace of Ishvara. Ishvara seated in the hearts of all. But what generally happens? Because of ignorance, the ahankara, the jiva thinks that I have accomplished so much in life and I am going to do this and I am going to get this goal also done. This belongs to me. I do this. I don't want to do this. So this ahankara I is taking the credit for all the actions, planning, executing, whatever you have accomplished. Yeah. Whereas what is the real scene here? The real scene is everything is in Ishvara's hands. Shastra says nothing is in my hands. But because of ignorance, I think that these people belong to me and they will always stay with me. Yeah, I have earned all this wealth and I am free to do what I think is best to do with it. So this kind of thinking, the ahankara is planning. Yeah. But then Shastra says that there is the higher principle, the principle of Maya, or as Pujya Swamiji uses the word order. A very beautiful word. I think Kanchi Mahapariva also has said it even before Pujya Swamiji. Maha order or the cosmic intelligence is acting through all the jivas, governing everything. whom we are meeting, whom one gets married to, whether one will have a family or not, whether you will end up as a doctor or an engineer or a sannyasi, you know. So all this is happening how? Not by personal decision, because they're happening by a higher principle. So sarva dharman parityajya means I do what is to be done, yeah, and actions will continue to happen. But I understand that nothing belongs to me. I don't do anything. Everything is done by Ishvara. So this is the jnanam part. Where does the jnanam part come? I have to understand the Ishvara residing in my heart as Atma is empowering the Anatma to act and decide and feel and experience the whole world. You see the two words Sarva Dharman Parityajya, we are getting this meaning from the Shankara Bhashya. Yeah? And then what? Then Krishna says, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja means you take refuge in me alone. And again, we have to connect the me to supreme reality. Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. And this means, what does this mean? Gaining refuge. Taking refuge means it is understanding. It is gaining the self-knowledge or Atma Jnana. The pursuit of knowledge and understanding that there is nothing other than Ishvara. Or simply understanding Tattvamasi Mahavakyam. Recognizing Ishvara as Atma and Atma as Ishvara is to take refuge in the supreme reality, which is Krishna Paramatma. You know, all these shlokas, I'm reminded of the great bhakta, which is Hanuman. There are many bhaktas, you know, but the previous shloka that we saw, you know, Hanuman was a Manmanaha, Madbhaktaha, Madhyaji, Mam Namaskuru. Because whatever Hanuman did, it was for Sri Rama. And he was a total bhakta, Madbhakta of Sri Rama. Then Manmanaha, his mind was ever fixed on Sri Rama. Mam Namaskaru, always doing salutations to Sri Rama. So, in the Ramayana, there is one scene, you know, where Sri Rama is meeting Hanuman for the first time. And he asks, Bhavan Kaha. Bhavan Kaha means, in Sanskritam, Aap kaun hai? You know, Ninga yaar, who are you? Respectfully, Sri Rama asks. Then Hanuman's answer is very interesting. He says, O Lord of the three worlds, Sri Rama, Deha Buddhya Aham Dasa. Jiva Buddhya tu Tvat Amshakaha. Atma Buddhya Tameva Aham. I won't repeat the shloka, but I will tell you the meaning. Yeah? The meaning is, Hanuman says, Sri Rama, if I consider that I am this body, then I am your dasa. I am willing to do everything for you, as your humble servant or dasa. And if I take myself to be the mind, the jivatma, then I am an amsha of you. I am a spark of you. I am a ray. But if my understanding is I am the Atma, then you and I are the same. So he tells Sri Rama, at the highest level, you as Atma is me as Atma. There is no difference. But at the level of the world, level of the body, I am ready to do everything for you. My devotion is for you, and I'm chanting your mantras alone. So you see where the two yogas come into place. As long as one is identified with our body, mind, sense complex, we do a lot of activities. So we have to become the Manmanaha, Madbhaktaha, Madhyajis. But as the Atma, the same Atma is residing samam in an ant, in a saint, in a mosquito, in a tree, in a plant, anything, even in a criminal. Same Atma is in the hearts of all. So obviously in the offenders of the society, what the Atma is clouded, covered by impurities. And in a saint, we can see the glowing tejas and kujas, and the Atma is radiating, manifesting it fully. So here, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja is referring to what? Finally, Jnana Yoga, gaining self-knowledge. Then what will happen? Aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami. So mokshayishyami is also Rit Lakara, future tense. Krishna gives the assurance, I will free you, Arjuna. Aham tva sarva papebhyah, from all the papas, I will free you. Again, this quarter can be easily misunderstood. Does it mean that the jivas can, steal property or commit crimes? You go to a supermarket and we do shoplifting and then don't pay and come out. Then Krishna will save us from all the papas. Obviously not. Yeah? So again, Shankaracharya says, here we have to understand as aham tva. Tva means you. I will release you from not only papas but punyas also. See, the first line, dharma, we took as dharma and adharma. And here, sarva papebhyah is, Krishna says, I will release the jiva from papam and punyam. How? We will see a bit later. But first, what is papa? Papa is some suffering that comes into my life. Because I must have gone against dharma. Yeah? That is why the karma phalam, papa karma phalam comes to us in the form of some suffering or some unfortunate phase of life that we have to pass through. Sade sati, they say, in the 7.5 or 6.5 years of ill luck, where there will be loss of health and wealth and all that. Then punyam, what is punyam? Punyam is a happy moment in our lives, favorable situations. Family is doing well, there is no dearth of money or food, everything is going well, there's contentment in the mind, favorable situations, punyam, punya karma phalam. So this has happened because I must have done punya karmas in the past. And hence, punya. So, now Vedanta says that both papa and punyam are obstacles for us. This also has to be understood properly. Yeah? Now, I'm sure we will think, okay, punyam fine, papam da venda. Right? Punyam vartame. No, why I should not want punyam is an obvious question. So, the Shastra says, for both papa and punyam to experience, what does one need? Janma, the body, right? So, Shankaracharya shows us the wheel of samsara. If I do karma, if it is punya karma, there is punyam. For punyam, I need a janma, body to experience that. And in that body, I will do further karma. And I will go round and round and round. And if I do papa karmas, then papa will be there. Papa will lead to suffering. To experience suffering, there has to be a birth, janma. And in the janma, I will do more karmas. So I will be going round and round and round, whether it is punyam or papa. And nobody experiences 100% punyam, right? And in the 8th chapter of the Gita, there is a shloka which says, Kshine punye punarapi mrityaloke vishanti. Which means, punyam is a credit. And maybe I will go to some loka and have some pleasurable experiences. But when the punya exhausts in the account, what is going to happen? Punarapi mrityuloke vishanti. The jiva will have to come back and take janma again. So this shloka says that punyam is like a golden prison and papam is like a iron prison, chains. You can say chains of prison. Yeah? So even punyam, if punyam is there in my life, then I will get addicted. I want more of it. Now, see, we are at in the concluding chapter. It does not mean that we should not earn punya. We have to earn punya. So, as mumukshus at this stage, what kind of punyam do we want? We want health punyam. We want Vedanta classes punyam. We want a calm mind punyam. Definitely, we should do whatever we can to earn this kind of punyam. Sir, don't say no to punyam. Okay? And papam, of course, some papam are unavoidable, but generally we want to avoid the papa karmas. Yeah? So here Krishna says the jiva is struggling in life, yeah, having to experience papa punyam, papa punyam, papa punyam. This is like a sorry go round, not merry go round, but sorry go round. Orbiting, going round and round and round. So aham moksha vishyami. Yeah? I will release you from both. Yeah? So in Vedanta Shastra or the Upanishads talk about that Param Shanti, that ultimate goal of contentment or peace or samatvam, which is beyond papa and punyam, which is beyond good and evil. Yeah? So I don't want now punyam, tomorrow papam, then tomorrow punyam, day after papam. I want to be at peace. So that is the peace that Krishna is talking about here. And where is the peace? Again, in our own hearts. So Krishna is saying here, how is Krishna going to release us from papa punyam? By removing the ignorance that I am this body, mind, sense complex. Jnana deepena bhasvata. Again, another shloka which says, just as when I light a lamp, darkness goes away. Yeah? So too, when by the grace of Bhagavan, the mind is illumined, when there is knowledge, then ignorance will go away. The light of knowledge dispels the darkness of ignorance. Then gaining Atma Jnanam, then I am at peace. And that Atma is beyond papa punyam, beyond good and evil, beyond the dualities. Now another question will come. So gaining self-knowledge, then all the papa and punya will be eradicated? Will not be there for me? Yes and no. We will see this in more detail on Monday in the Tattvabodha lecture, which is on karmas anyway. But a short answer here is, when I discover that I am the Sakshi Chaitanyam Atma, I have understood the identity with Ishvara, yeah, then Papa and Punyam cannot touch me, because Atma is unaffected by Papa and Punyam. Yeah. So that means Papa and Punyam will affect the body in some way or the other. But then as Atma, Chaitanyam, I am free. So that is the discovery talked about in Shastras like Upanishads, Tattvabodha, and these shlokas of the Gita. So Krishna says, I will release you, which means what? You have to gain self-knowledge. You have to understand that I am in your hearts. And that there is an identity between Ishvara and Atma. So recognizing Ishvara as Atma and Atma as Ishvara, one goes beyond Papa and Punyam. So what is the final understanding? That everything is Ishvara. Everything belongs to Ishvara. Ishvara only is the doer. I'm not doing anything like this pen, Now, obviously, this pen does not have a sukshma shariram, right? So it cannot think I am writing or I'm a black pen. But just as the pen is being used by me, so too Krishna is giving the message to Arjuna that Arjuna, you are depressed and sad, but you become nimittam. Why do you think that you are fighting the war? That you are going to win the Mahabharatam? That you will get papam? Na children, aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami. I will release you. So the responsibility is with me, Arjuna. So I am running the show, the universe. And so the last quarter is what? Ma Shuchaha. Last two words, very significant. Ma Shuchaha means don't grieve. Yeah? So the whole purpose of the study of Gita is what? To remove sorrow. Remember where the Upadesha started? Ashocyanan Vashochastvam Prajna Vadanscha Bhashase. Chapter 2, 11th shloka. The wise people will never grieve because they have gained Atma Jnanam and they have understood the power and order of Ishvara that is, that is governing everything, that is doing everything. And they are only all nimittams in Ishvara's hands. Yeah? So, Arjuna, you are grieving unnecessarily. Yeah? So, you be a nimittam like this pen and don't carry the weight of the whole universe on your shoulders. So, Ma Shujaha is very important. It means kavalai padade, fikar mat karo, Hindi, Sanskrit, chinta mastu. And in the modern language, what do the youngsters say? Chill. Chill means relax, ma. Chill. Ma Shujaha. No? So see, the idea here is when I take up the extra responsibility, I have to do this. Yeah? I'm only doing this. This belongs to me. Then life becomes a burden. Swamiji would tell the story about the ladies. The ladies in the Mumbai suburban trains, they will carry their work with them in the baskets. Yeah? But once the lady boards the train, does she continue to hold it on her head? No, she will put it down, right? Because the train is anyway moving. So too, the train of our lives has already begun and it is moving. So we have to sit, relax, let go and enjoy the scenery. So the idea is, the whole purpose of Gita is to remove the sorrow. How? By removing the ignorance. What kind of ignorance? That I am responsible. I am doing everything. No. So the Ahankara I is to be replaced by the Ishvara I. The big I, when that comes into the picture, then we are like that baby in the hands of the Divine Mother. I have talked about this once before. There are two kinds of Sharanagati. One is the like the baby monkey. What does a baby monkey do? It will cling to the back of the mother. The mother will jump and jump and jump, and the baby monkey has to hold tight. Sometimes it can fall also. That is how one is very, very alert and vigilant. But then what happens to the kitten? The mother will hold the kitten in the mouth. And it will go to places and put it in a safe place where there will not be dogs, where it cannot be attacked. Yeah. This is called Markata Nyaya. Markata is monkey and Marjala Nyaya. Marjala means the baby kitten. So that is the shloka is showing us, let us be like the baby kitten, that the Divine Mother knows best and she will protect us by Divine Mother means the Maya Shakti of Ishvara, will protect us, will take us to our destination, and she's accomplishing everything through these instruments, Anatma instruments. Okay, so so that is the shloka, extremely profound shloka, and we can see how the 65th shloka is on an Ishvara centered Karma Yoga life, and 66 is on gaining Atma Jnanam, where this is the absolute stage of Sharanagati. Yeah. So you see the difference. One is pravritti, there is effort, and there is offering to Ishvara. But here, 66 shloka shows that there is total Sharanagati. Okay, Krishna, you use me as you think best. How should I conduct my life? You give it up. I want the self-knowledge. So that is the gist of these two shlokas. Now we will see a little meditation. I'm going to do a separate recording